Hello, hello. Whoa. These backgrounds always make me dizzy. Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun or intermittent code fun. I'll get that right someday. I am One Lion, and we're looking out using Window Swap to a camera that can't sit still over Terraneron, and just taking a look at this lovely view from way up here. There's a lot of sand. But also lush greenery in the far distance in this non-construction area. Prog testing you indeed are first. Konnichiwa. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. We're just going to dive in. So we've been working on a project called the Financial Management Tracker. I've been trying to do things in a nice, clean way, but I'm getting to the point where we proved that we know how to do tests. We proved that we know how to do design and implement that design. And it probably would save us a lot of effort in the long run, but because this is kind of a hobby project, we are going to cut some corners just to get it done. I feel terrible about that. If only you could see my insides and the way I feel. But there are too many exciting things happening that I want to get to, that I want to sink time into, and I hope you guys would join me for that as well. And this just seems like an opportune time to be able to dive into those technologies and do stuff with it. So, with that said, Financial Management Tracker. You could see the progress of this on GitHub. I guess if you felt like it, you are more than welcome to contribute this project by creating tests. So we aren't doing it TDD, but if you would like, for any of our currently implemented methods, you can definitely write some tests after the fact, after they're implemented, and then tell me where I'm doing everything wrong. What sorts of technologies am I talking about? So we have a smorgasbord of technologies to pick from. You were talking about Wagai. Wagai. I want to know what that's about. I'm talking to prog testing, by the way. Um, so I would love to explore Wagi, Wagai, however it's pronounced, which also means, possibly means, I don't know if it's like hand in hand, but learning more about Wazi um, and figuring out what that can be used for. Can I eventually use these technologies to accomplish my goals and dreams, which include doing stuff in the metaverse and AR, VR? And so, of course, there is all of the WebGL technology, WebXR technology, and AR, VR directly from Unity, metaverse related topics. Just so much that I want to do and get into. I turned that down really, really low for myself. I don't know if you can still hear the music coming through, but I barely can. Should be fine. So yeah, the other thing though is that I really, 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 really want this application. I want this for my personal use, and it'd be nice just to have it. Uh, Created layout component just to show a situation. So I'm going to push that. You looked into Azure Redis Cache and CDN. Cool. And what did you find out? And there's Azure Localization DNS. And that's separate from those? Or is it just another topic that um, coincides with them? Oh, I need to clear out my nose really, really quick. But I'll come back and read. topic within the topic. That's what I thought. Well, my nose is running. Oof. So, I'm gonna well, there is one more thing that I wanted to do with this flyout because I realized that this is how I want to do the flyout, which is to have shared UI. It's not shared UI. Shared components. Okay, so with my flyout, the thing that I was talking about before is I wanted a way for my content to provide whether or not it can be collapsed or closed. Can this flyout be dismissed? And instead of needing to okay. I'm trying to explain this in a logical order. The flyout component is the thing that shows up on the side of your screen or from the left. So like it comes in from the left, comes in from the right, flies up from the bottom, flies down from the top. Point is, it feels like it's a menu that is sliding in or out, or a message or content view that slides in or out. And so what I was wanting is for the flyout to only close when the internal content says you're allowed to close. So if the internal content of the flyout is performing some process, excuse me, for example, hiccuping, no, there. For example, this contact us flyout. Let's say the user has started to fill in some form that's in this contact us, and that form's content would get discarded if they dismiss the flyout. Then we want some kind of confirmation message before they close the flyout that says unsubmitted. You have unsubmitted changes. If you close the flyout, then you'll lose those changes. Very sure you want to close, kind of thing. So then this would be looking for a flag internally that says the user has said either yes, I do want to close, or no, cancel, close, and then it would prevent it from closing. So if I am considering that, then I would need this cascading parameter from the parent to the child so that the inner content could communicate to the parent that, hey, I'm not ready to close. You're not allowed to close me. Or yeah, you can close me. Sure, why not? And so there were a bunch of approaches that I thought through. And I think the one that I finally settled on is creating a base component using a cascading parameter from the parent passing itself down to its children, and then using a flyout content base component good job that inherits from component base, has this cascading parameter. Oh, apparently I have this project generating documentation. Yep. So you wouldn't normally see green squigglies on public classes and methods and stuff unless you were generating documentation in which it's like, I'm supposed to be generating documentation for this, and when I do, I'm going to see these public methods and they're not going to have descriptions and public classes and stuff. You should probably put some public classes on them. The other thing, yeah, the other thing that this is going to need is the delegate. This needs to be abstract. Abstract is the delegate, or in this case, it's just going to be an overridable method, virtual task of bool can close async, because we have been consistently using the async suffix on all of our asynchronous methods. And for now, that's just going to, by default, return task.fromResult true. So by default, when you create content and you have that content inherit from flyout content base, then it will return true. If it doesn't inherit from flyout content base, then we'll have a way for this thing to ignore that. It'll say, I don't care if you don't have a can close. Yeah, and we'll handle that in a second. But I don't care if you don't have a can close, because I'll say if you don't have a can close that I can call or that has been registered to this delegate ish. I don't know what to call it. Then I'll assume that you can close. So for now, one thing that we would want to do is protected override async task on parameters set async. And so the reason I'm doing it on parameters set async is, yes, okay, is that if we don't have a flyout parent up front, so this is just flyout content base being used by itself. Actually, you know what? Let's say that we must have a flyout content parent. But then I would need a uninitialized. Check shared any. Okay. I mean, it's not a thing that I'm trying to research right now. It's something that I would want to do in the future. So I will bookmark those and put them into my WYSIWYG into my WASM folder. WebAssembly. That is a lot of resources, though. Boop. Boop. And so prog testing posted into our Discord some resources for looking at WASI and WAGI. It's pronounced waggy, like wagging your tail. And is this from the official people or something? But yeah. So we got some resources that we will most likely be looking at in the future when we start looking into those technologies. It's going to be great. Product testing says that's okay. The point is that this is the future, the light and the source of all good things. Not some good things, all good things. Okay, so we have this register content. So this is going to be private. How do I want to do this? So I'm already changing what I did in my actual project, in my work product. That works beautifully, by the way, because now I'm starting to think through some more optimizations that I could do, I guess. Not really optimizations, just something to make it easier to use. So right now, the only thing that I do is flyout parent dot can close equals close async. So I'm telling this thing that when my flyout parent does the can close, it should call this method or invoke this method. Now the difficulty is going to be when I am trying to use the same flyout for new content without collapsing it first. And so what we'll see is we'll also need to implement iDisposable with public void dispose, and we're only going to clear out the can close. So if flyout parent is not null and flyout parent dot can close is equal to can close async. So if the method reference here is this the implementing components reference to can close, then we'll set it to null, which means that we haven't replaced the content with a new component that has registered its own close async method to the parent's can close. So we can write this a little bit easier. And because I am now implementing iDisposable in the base class, we'll need a way to call the dispose method from other components that might need to implement their own iDisposable. So let's just show this in action really quick then. I'll go ahead and move this to a code behind so that we have my standard approach for the way that I do components with their code behind files, with their code blocks. So instead of this thing keeping track of its parent and doing the same logic here on parameter set async, we will need to inherit from fly out content base, which means that the component itself needs to inherit from fly out content base. Public override. Okay, so now we are overriding our base classes close async. We're still just returning task from result true, but we're going to update this now just so we can see it in action. So we're going to have a private bool allow close, allow close, uh, close disallowed. What? Oops. Control P is not control left bracket, in case you were wondering. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a toggle input type checkbox at bind allow close. And so if this is not checked, we can't close the flyout. If it is checked, we should be able to close it. So this is actually going to be task from result allow close. And so when we are trying to collapse our flyout, which I will move this code into the code behind. Boop, 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 duck. If you're watching Gee, I'm just joking. I promise. So yeah, there's a couple things that we want. I forgot that I wasn't finished with this, with the base class, that is. Yeah, okay. So if we're trying to change the value of show, hello, Zuris. How have you been? I hope you are well today. If we're trying to change the value of show using the parameter, then we're going to run this update show method, which will say if our current value of show is false, or is true, sorry, if we are currently showing and we're trying to change to not showing, so this is the only time that we care about checking for the can close. And can close await can close. Do I actually need to do dot invoke? I do. It's not await. I'm confused. How did I do this before? Hello to Kasat. He says flies out. Zuri says, I got screwed writing that WinForm app. I don't have access to SMTP server to email. Can you use something like SendGrid? Set up your own SendGrid? I mean, so the way that I did it for one of our apps at the previous place that I worked at was I created an account that was specific to the contractor that had the contract for the job. So I was a full-time employee working for a company that did contracting for other companies. In this case, it was a government entity. But anyway, I set up SendGrid with an email that was from that organization. So you would just get an email address from your organization that you're allowed to use without needing SMTP from them. And then you can use SendGrid to send mail, but it would be one of those no reply kind of emails. Well, it doesn't even have to be that. Now that I think of it. You just set it up and then set the sender as the organization email that they give you. And then if they reply to it, then the reply would go to that organization email. I mean, you could use a private email, but it really doesn't make sense to do that for companies. For Oh my goodness, I'm tired. Am I making sense? I hope I make sense. Yeah, SendGrid is quite easy to use. You'll have a NuGet package, I believe. Now I have hiccups. Actually, you know what? I don't think I actually used a SendGrid NuGet package. I mean, I assume you can use a NuGet package to do the configuration and everything easier, but all that I had to do was copy paste the SendGrid configuration and then inject it as an iEmail sender. So you pretty much implement iEmail sender the SendGrid way, and they have documentation about that for sure on their GitHub and maybe even on their site. Start in 5 minutes. Thank you, Dukasoft. So you create an account, create an API key. So the account, again, that's where you would probably want to use an organization email to create the account. Hello, Fozzie. That way, if you ever leave the company, then at least the organization email stays with the company, and then other people would be able to log into it. And then within the SendGrid UI, there'll be a way for you to generate an API key. And I don't know why it says make sure you have curl installed. You don't really need to. I guess for that specific one. Here we go. And I remember this thing here. Okay, so you can either use an environment variable to create your API key. You can use the thing that I used, which was app settings. I don't even know where that is. I used app settings essentially to pass in the API key and set it in secrets. And then, of course, on the server in the actual app settings.json. And that would be the SendGrid API key, the from email address, the from email name, and then you would create this here in a send method when you implement iEmail sender, and then you'll have a send email async. Yeah, there are quite a few examples on the interwebs of how to set it up. On the interwebs. Where was I? Oh no, I closed a tab. I did not mean to close. You are welcome. Yeah, and just make sure that it is a viable option for you to use with your organization, with your company that you're working with before actually. I mean, it takes very little to get set up, so it's not like a big waste of your time if you do set it up. But I don't know, maybe they wouldn't want to send their emails through or have you send organization emails through a service like SendGrid. They're too dumb to know what's going on. Fuzzy says, Yep, and I did reopen it. Thanks to Kasoft. Fuzzy asks, is anyone here good with JavaScript? I have an array of promises and I need to know how many of them, how many are completed. Yeah, Ghost Ninja is really good with JavaScript. So if you go into the Discord server and ask in JS Hell, I think is what I call it. JavaScript help is what I mean. That'd be a great place to post that question. But from the top of my head, so I'm not good with JavaScript promises. But I have done a lot of, so let's say that I have var task1 equals can close. Yeah, I need some actual, here, some this. True. And then let's say that I have a task2. And I don't even need it like this. Let's say it's var or task array task equals new task array from these two things. J. Okay, and then I did a task. Sure, wait all. Why not? And I'm not awaiting it. So what you could do is while tasks.any not completed. I mean, normally you wouldn't do something like this. You would do an await task when all, wait all, whatever you're trying to do. Then await task delay kind of thing. So I don't know if there's an equivalent to looping through all of the tasks repeatedly until you are sure all of them are complete, or getting like looping through all of the tasks. So in essence, this while task.any is more like a setting a bool. So var still running equals true. And you're doing more of a while still running. And then for each var cur task in tasks, if not. Oh, yeah, the very first thing you do is still running equals false. Yeah, and then if cur task is not completed, then we have at least one that is still running. Or you can go through the entire list and accumulate the list of tasks that are still running and output those somehow, whatever you feel like doing. But there might be an equivalent to this type of thing in JavaScript. Oh no, don't ever apologize for derailing the stream. The streams are just about, hanging out with you guys. You have no reason to apologize. I like to answer questions if I can and try to help out where I can. But yeah, Fuzzy is saying in .NET I'd use Task Scheduler. I need to make thousands of requests, but never have more than X incomplete quests. Quests, he says, requests. So yeah, I'm sure that there. No, I'm not sure. I kind of remember there also being something in JavaScript that is akin to to lambda expressions to link, where you could do like map or something true for all. So for me, it'd be any x arrows x dot not is completed, or count, I guess, is what you would really want. So how many tasks are not completed? And I kind of remember there being something like an aggregate function in JavaScript. And then I'm also assuming that when you have a promise, you can also check the status of the promise. So I guess let's see if that first assumption is correct at all. Or second assumption. I know my numbers. JavaScript check status of promise. No such synchronous inspection API exists for native JavaScript promises. Status of a promise is internal. Are you getting return values from the completed ones? Is it, oh man, so many questions. Is it thread safe in your resolve step or reject, I guess, in whichever thing that you get to add or subtract from a, okay, fine. Prog testing tells me to quit because Ghost Ninja is the one that you should ask instead of me guessing. Got it. I'll move on. Cut. Save. All right, I need to get this thing to do what I want it to do. So can close is supposed to return for me a task of function. And so we will. Ooh, Kilobit, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? That's not a thing. That's not how you do this. Oh, it's because we weren't async. Good grief. Had I known, I would have just done that. Okay, so here's the deal. Inside of our flyout, when we are checking for whether or not a child content can close, we're going to first see if that child content has registered its can close method with this particular flyout. If it has, we will at least get back the task to execute that method, which is what we're awaiting here. If it has not, then can close should be null. And we'll get back true, you can, or a task that will return true. So you absolutely can. Close me. But if we are already showing the flyout, I'm doing good. I'm a Xamarin developer looking into more Blazor. Nice stream thus far. Awesome. Awesome. I need a lot of help with understanding, or at least not transitioning, but understanding how to go to using Maui appropriately. There are a lot of Xamarin concepts that are pretty easy to understand, but hard to implement. So now that I'm using Maui for, I'm using Blazor Hybrid, which uses Maui, I'm having trouble doing things like targeting the WPF window to change the title bar, for example. And we struggled a lot with that. It's in our history of YouTube videos somewhere. You'll see me struggling for hours, days on end, trying to get things to work. I have a couple of repos that are surrounding it, a couple of questions out in the Microsoft forums that we're having discussions on, that we're still getting discussions on. It's crazy. There are just a lot of hard things when it comes to when you're running on Windows and you want to do something like customize the title bar background color. Then you have to jump through all of these hoops instead of having, oh, and you're running on Windows less than Windows 11. Because on Windows, I can't remember now, it's been a while, but I believe it's starting from Windows 11. You have access to the title bar API, and you could just set the title that way and background color and stuff. Anyway, what I'm trying to do here is set show equal to true. And Dickosoft says I can't even run Windows 11 yet. Otherwise, we will update show. Set show equal to the past in show. So there are multiple ways to call this update show. Maybe I'll just keep it private. I don't know. I'll keep it private. If I make that private, oh yeah. So there are still going to be two ways to call this. One is within the component itself. So fly out update show false when you click on the X. And then the other one is by changing the public parameter show, which will eventually run the update show method. And so I'm just guaranteeing here that show is going to be set. And I guess we'll do a check. So if current show is not equal to the value that we're trying to set it to, then we'll update it. And then we'll call status changed. But because we are now doing a sync, we'll go ahead and do await invoke async status changed, just to make sure we are running on the UI thread when we do that status changed. So window manager is a pain in Maui right now. I'm hoping with .NET 7 things can improve. I agree. So we did create a Maui project for this application just to show yourself. Who's seen a Mobasheri? Who are you calling out? We added the Maui project just to show that we can use the same UI regardless of whether we're targeting Blazor Server, Blazor WebAssembly, or Maui using Blazor component. What is it called? Blazor WebView Control. Where's my main window? Oh, it's called main page. But yeah, you can see that this is pointing to Blazor UI app.razor. This is really hard. So it's pointing to this file here as the UI to use, as the Blazor component to load into this Blazor WebView. The kids inside shadows. You can see them. You can see them? Or can you just sense them and you want them to reveal themselves? Dark heart and bad practices. Look, I was doing good practices earlier. I was doing TDD, and now I'm just tired. Now I just want to get this project done so that we can move on to the cool things, to the fun. I mean, this is fun for me. I love doing this, but there's even more cool things out there waiting for us. Um, so I wanted to show this thing working, which is, oh, we also need some way to identify that closing has been prevented. So I am going to tell this thing to print out. Oh, I probably still have you open in miscellaneous files. I'm going to have this thing print out for us that, oh, yeah, and then do nothing. That console write line how close was prevented. Otherwise, console write line flyout close was allowed. Okay. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I feel like I'm missing something that is going to tell this thing whether or not it can open or close. Hello, Scott. Lurking like a little turkin. What? I love it. I love it. Donnell watch. Took a soft on look, Scott. Yes. Oh no. He came out of the shadows. You found one of the kids in the shadows. Stuff is like, whoa. Oops. It's a one-eyed, one-horned frog. The end. All right. Here is the app running so far. We're going to do a lot to clean this up, and we'll be able to move faster on it now that I'm not trying to do GDD as much. Sorry, we need back here. We need the about. So here's contact us, and it let me close. Why did you let me close? F12 console says flyout close was allowed twice. And actually, can we get out of? Thank you. So here's my flyout. It's not animated, it's not styled or anything like that, but you can see that it works. I click on something, it comes out from the right side, covers as much of the screen as it needs, and then makes the rest of it slightly opaque. And so with this box unchecked, we should not be able to close the flyout. Oh. Aha, I think I know what it is. In my flyout base, I kind of remember now what I was missing. On parameter set, we have the can close. Nope, I don't remember. Scott says, first time I'm excited for an exam ever. 31st of October. Did you do the free certification exam from the Microsoft Ignite event? Was it the Ignite event? I passed on this one. I really wanted to because, I mean, they're free. They're like 100 and something bucks if you pay for them yourself that you could get for free. And I did the one from MS Build, the MS Build event, but it was so much work and I just don't have as much time to work on those, or I don't have the desire to go through that much work for another exam. Oh, this is cool. So he says, nope, it's my university, a physical exam. I've been working as an intern for 3 months now, says Scott. What's going on? What am I doing wrong? Does anyone see what I'm doing wrong? I guess we can check at each step. We can find out. First of all, if can close is null, console, right line, can close has a value. Whoops. Whoops. Tyron's here. There's an issue? Oh, the issue is I set up a component that is that is structured as here is a parent component. It passes itself down as to the child. All of the children inherit from component flyout content base. They have a cascading parameter that are the flyout parent. When the flyout parent is set for that child component, then it assigns its own can close method, which is a virtual task of bool. It assigns its own can close method to the parent, to the parent's can close property. Why not use set parameters async?
About this.
Is that an overridable method? Correct. The parent can only have one child, ever. Override task set parameters async. Oh my gosh, I'm so blind. Where is this? Set parameters async. And you're saying to the parent though, right? It's public. It's public. Oh, I've never used it. That's why. I mean, it's kind of the same thing still. I'm at least according to Copilot, it's the same thing, except that instead of needing to manually call set parameters async, I am only doing this one check here. So I don't know. Life cycle wise, it doesn't really matter to me. But yeah, I should use set parameters async more often. And I will consider it. I will highly consider it. I'm not just dismissing it, just so you know. And hello, good VJ. Okay, so you can see the structure though. I have a parent that passes itself down to any child content, excuse me, in which we're expecting only one flyout content base to be populating it. When that flyout content base has its parent cascading parameter set, then it registers its own can close async method to the parent's can close property. And so the first implementation of this that I'm doing is this contact us flyout. It has a checkbox that is bound to this allow close Boolean, and it inherits from flyout content base, and I am overriding the can close method to return the value of allow close. And that way, when this box is not checked, we should not be able to close the flyout. The good thing about set parameters async is that it loads before everything else, and you can manipulate it before any other parameters. Good for APIs, route parameters, cascading parameters. Yeah. So that's really cool, and I like that. I like that a lot, except that in this case, I don't think that the order matters that much, but we'll try it. We'll see. Let's get that back. Keep you, get rid of you. Yes, apply. I think it might have to do with which can close this thing is actually using. But I mean, it's working on, like, I have a similar setup on my work product, and it's working perfectly on that. I was just trying to find a cleaner way of doing it. All right, so it should have reloaded. Reload. Okay, so we know can close has a value as false, but now can close has value as true, which is cool. So step one in our flyout close method is checking to see, does can close have a value? Can close is not null. Console write line evaluated can close is await can close. If it just returns it, so I'm not awaiting anything else. Dang it. Go back here. I'm not awaiting anything else up here. So I'm not doing anything asynchronously, so I am just returning the task to do this, since this is the only thing that I would be awaiting. So instead of creating multiple state machines, or whatever you want to call it, or not whatever you want to call it, whatever the correct term is for when you do awaits. No, the warning is actually that I don't have XML markup. Because I have generate documentation turned on. Good VJ said, one line as a developer, how much do you love designing pages in HTML and CSS? So I don't really enjoy it very much. I'm not great at design. I was about to say something a little pompous, a little full of myself, but I am pretty good at implementing a design. So if I can see it, I can write it in code. I can do HTML and CSS, make it look like it looks, make it function the way that you want it to function. It's nice, it's clean, it's maintainable. But as far as coming up with the design myself, I'm not great at it. I'm starting to learn better tricks, which is one thing that I wanted to use this for. So for example, our landing page we created in Figma, and then we got an overall look and feel because I wanted to practice doing design. And so we came up with a few different ideas for what the landing page could look like and the overall look and feel of the application. And then I chose these. And so I took that design from Figma and then I implemented it here. And that's what this is for the most part. I don't know. I'm not sure. Are you going to be okay, Cinema Busher? Sherry? Cinema Bushery. Good BJ says, I also try to avoid designing. Yeah, so the benefit that I've had from working at Sagetti is the team that I'm working on. Before I started doing my effort, we had a UI UX designer that created the majority of the screens. It was like, I don't know, 70%, maybe 80% of the screens. And all I had to do was implement those, implement the UI for that. And then now I'm working on hooking up the backend so that the UI performs the same functionality that the original app did. And it's been so much fun. But then I've had a whole bunch of other things added to that responsibility. Yeah, okay, so evaluated can close is false. So the thing that's happening is this here. This is wrong. Underscore show is either underscore show is false, or the show that we're trying to change to is true, which we should be doing false there, because we know that this is evaluating to true. Or, yeah, to false. I'm so backwards. I'm so backwards. And we are not allowed to close. Then we're going to exit early. I always do this. Yes, Tyron got it. The lag. It's the lag. But Tyron got it before I said it, I'm sure. Oh my gosh. I can't believe me. Okay, so here is the sidebar, and now you can see that I can't close it, even using the X. But if I check this box, then it can close. If only you had unit test. Hush you. Hush you. So anyway, I think that this is a pretty good approach for being able to use any kind of content you want in the flyout, and then having the flyout determine whether or not it will allow you, or the content itself, whether it will allow the flyout to be collapsed or closed. And the reason that you wouldn't want it to close is if it was doing some important process that needed the user's input, or the user was editing some kind of form in there. Yeah, what if the unit test was also backwards? Which is what would happen, because Listexia. Anyway, let's get rid of these. I'm happy with that. We're going to go with that. So I don't know if you were here when I was complaining about this taking too long, but I think because we have proven that we can write tests and we know how to do mocking, and that was the skill that I wanted to learn, and now I have an example of how to set up tests in a Blazor application using my architecture, my program, my project structure and everything. I really just want to implement the rest of the application so that we can move to the next amazing fun thing. And I can't move to the next thing until we are done with this one. And it is imperative. It is imperative. Yeah, now that I've learned it, I'll never use it again. Thank you, Dukasoft. This is true. It is imperative that I move on to gaining other skills so that I can succeed in the current efforts that I am going through. At least that's what I'm saying. Hopefully it's still quality content. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be fun. I promise we're going somewhere good and amazing. But if you as a community would like to see unit tests in this application, the project is available on GitHub, and you could very, very easily write unit tests and do a PR, and I'll review them on stream, unless you tell me not to review them on stream. You're so mean, but true. Dukasoft wrote quality content equals false and then a comment after it. Don't worry, it'll be read as true. Oh my goodness. It's true though. It's so sad, but true. You know what else? Oh, if show doesn't equal the current value of show, then do this thing. I was going to say, if this wasn't true, then we wouldn't be setting the current value of show to the new value of show, but that's fine. So this would be another case where what Scott said would make sense to do set parameters. Because I'm trying to manipulate the value of the set parameter before actually setting the parameter. So the only time that I would want to change the value of show is if it if we are actually supposed to update it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so how do I get a specific parameter out of parameter view? If I recall correctly, parameter view is essentially a dictionary of property names and the value that they're getting set to. Whoa, that's cool. So it's not show change that I want, it is show Oh, that's cool. Now then, how do I update? How do I update a value? Can I just do it like a dictionary? No. Tyrant improved on Dukasoft's code. Is not quality content true or false equals false. This is why variable names matter. I'm going to put it up here just so everyone can see it. Is not quality content true or false? And then he sets it to false. And that means that quality content is not false. Oh my goodness. My brains. You broke my brains. Okay, so here we are going to pass the parameters after updating the value of show. But only if we can update the value of show. Crap, but I don't know how to modify that in this process. Man. Yeah, I can't currently think. So Tyron broke my brain. I blame Tyron. So I don't know how I can manipulate the method so that I can use set parameters to intercept if show is changing. First, make sure that we can close. if these criteria are met. So why not? Let's just have this thing. No, I don't want that either. Or maybe I do. Or maybe I do. Nope. I accidentally pushed buttons when I was trying to redo. And so now I can't redo the things that I already cut out. Whatever. We're just going to leave it at this. It works. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It is only the best. So updated the logic for, or created a base flyout content. So one thing to keep in mind though is even though I did create a flyout content base, in order to use a flyout and then have child content in it, it does not have to inherit from flyout content base, the child content. It could be anything you want. But if it doesn't inherit from flyout content base, it will assume you can close the flyout at any time. To handle the content controlling whether a flyout can be closed or not. I'll put child content. Okay, so that's going to be in the repo as of now. Now. So let's continue. The last thing that we were working on before that mess was finishing up the deposit data entry stuff. So we have the deposit get all. Those are tests. Those are tests. Let's see the actual implementation, please. Play us. We have the get all transactions, get all deposit transactions. We have the get transaction, deposit transaction by ID. We have add a new deposit transaction. We have we don't have update, and we have delete transaction. On the server side, those are the things that we wrote tests for. And so if we ran our tests, then we should see all but one passing test. Like I said, we should see all but one passing test, but what we are going to see is multiple failing tests because I'm still having an issue with my test still trying to use an existing DB context. And I don't get it. Maybe I do get it. I don't know why I ran that with debug. I didn't mean to run it with debug because it's going to pass. It isn't going to pass. Okay, so this is an issue with the way that I wrote add. Right here, which I'll just go straight to it, where I am using oh, that's the client. I was like, where even is this? Where I am using dispose. And so what I need to do is tell tell my database or not my database, tell my mock to intercept the dispose for this. Well, so that wouldn't have been straight to it. If I F12'd on it, it would take me to the interface. Except that this one is specifically the server implementation. So yes. Yeah. And even Control F12 would have been 2 steps if I was using the interface. Wait, Control F12 goes directly to the implementation? No, Control F12 is find all references, right? No, that's Shift F12. Go to implementation. Yeah, so, all right, here's what I would expect to happen in my normal project, not my test, that is using specifically the server-side implementation. Here is my add transactions, the same one that we were trying to look at. F12 takes me to the interface, like you said. Control F12 will take me to 2 possible routes. My server-side implementation or my client-side implementation. They both use the same interface. And so I would still have to pick one. So it's still 2 steps for me. And in fact, it's going to be more than that because as soon as I add my... No, I'm only doing it once. Never mind. I'm only doing it once. Control minus goes back. I use mouse key. So I am a keyboard and mouse. I used to be strictly keyboard and I tried to do every single thing with keyboard only. But it has gotten a lot easier for me to transition from when I'm going to use my mouse to when I'm going to use the keyboard. But yeah, I guess I do need to keep it in mind where if I am doing a lot of stuff with my keyboard and I want to go back, then Control minus would be an easy way without needing to go back to the mouse. I like that. Use hotkeys for so much. Yeah, absolutely. I love hotkeys. They're so hot. Okay, so anyway, as you saw in the actual server implementation, server-side implementation, I am using the using keyword. Did I still end up going to... Oh yeah, right here. Awesome. Thank you so much for the follow. Nice to... Sorry, I can't read. Niederauer. 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 How am I doing on pronunciation? I appreciate the follow though. Yeah, so I'm using the using statement for these. And so when I dispose context, it's no longer going to be available to my test, when I am doing this lookup to make sure that the record did get added to the database context. Yep, and Control-Shift-U is also good for capitalizing. And I use that a lot for my public and private, or for my full properties. Not bad? Awesome. So if I had a private backing field for account, the string account ID, and I wanted, and I wasn't using, so obviously what we would do, sorry, private int, what we would do is use the refactor tool to turn this into a full property. But let's say I didn't, and I wanted to type this out, and I did something like get, and then set. I mean, this is terrible because this isn't really a case that I would do it in, but this is a case that you could use it in. And I use the multi-caret, and I'm like, I want this to be underscore and whatever this is, make it lowercase. So I would have multiple things that are being multi-selected that have a different starting letter. That would be an instance where I use that. That was a terrible example, but you understand what I mean, right? So I wouldn't say it's rare that I use lowercase. Using Control U, like, 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 yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Uh, why didn't you use long instead of int for ID? Because I know that in this table, I'm only going to have, because this is a personal project, because I'm not thinking that this is going to be for someone tracking over 4 billion records or whatever, I can get away with using an int for space reasons. If this was going to be a globally distributed application where many people are going to be using it and they're all going to have multiple accounts, for example, then yeah, I would have a long. But I say that saying that this is only for me. And the other thing that I'm practicing with this application is as I'm creating content on pages, I am making sure to use localized strings, which I have no output here. Somebody show me some output. I mean, I have these display texts. I guess maybe that's where they are. Nope. Because that's coming from the database. Landing page. My landing page should have content. And so you can see I'm using all of this localizer stuff because I'm using the built-in iSystem localizer, iString localizer, sorry. And then in order to get the actual strings themselves, I am doing that in the resx file. I know that I'm going to forget that we're doing it that way. And I'm just going to be putting components together that have straight up text. I'm already doing it. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's because this was just kind of a placeholder footer. That's why. But normally I would just go through and replace these with their localized strings. The other thing that I would love to figure out how to do is pre-build. I want to grab all of the names from my localization and put them in variables so that instead of using these string values, I would have a strongly or a const in another class. So this would be something like localized string dot, where are we? Index. So it'd be the this dot path essentially to the file that it belongs with, because that's how the localization works. And then be able to have that output as a thing. Control U doesn't work for Twitch chat. That's sad. Make it all caps. Anyway, what were we doing? We were trying to finish out, figure out how to make sure that the test does not fail, which means keeping our DB context alive, which means mocking the dispose method. Oh man. Var DB context mock equals new mock of finan context. And this is going to be from, isn't there a Find admin context options, right? This thing. And then my context is going to be dot object. You will return the context, but before we do that, we need to set up dispose. And then how do I tell it to return nothing? Wait, what happened? It worked for me just earlier, and it's still running. Can you type it again, please? No, someone else typed. Type it one more time. Oh, just return nothing? Okay. I'll try to catch it this time before it goes away. And it worked for you that time. Oh, it worked for you the previous time too. Why didn't it work for you the first time though? Oh, you have a no. I don't know why it didn't work the first time. Digsoft. It worked the other two times. It's very odd. Very, very odd. Anyway, so I just need to tell this thing to return. It returns nothing. So I can't do a dot return because dispose does not return anything. Okay, does that also work for dispose async? Which should return a task. Is that this song? That was weird. Okay, it's going to return task completed task. It can't return task completed task because it's a value task. So let's return value task, not completed task. Okay, and that should mean that I get rid of this thing. And that shouldn't break anything else. Cool. So now let's try running this. I'm trying to prevent it from disposing the actual database context. So what's happening with my add method is because I'm using, after it's done running the add method, it's disposing the context that I'm using for my test. And instead, I want to keep that context alive. Oh no. So then I lose all of it. No, I mean, I'm using a in-memory database for the tests. So the in-memory database is getting set up using these here. Use in-memory database. Database name is a random GUID. Configure warnings. And then when I am setting it up, I don't think it's actually creating a new expression. There we go. What do we have? An expression that returns a function. Oh. You can't use the constructor like a method. Private static find_man context create database returns new. Yeah, and I thought that it was supposed to pass in the parameters. So yeah, so the way that I had it before should be right, where it takes my find_man context options and passes it into the constructor of find_man context. So we get this. But for some reason, by the time that I got to the database, when I was executing the database or getting the database from yeah, this has to be the object. Is there a way? No, probably not. Okay, let me show what's happening again. I knew that I was going to get stuck on test if I tried playing with them. Okay, so it's telling me that .database is null in my mocked DB context. And so I would then need to mock .database and all of that fun stuff. And so that's why instead, the original way that I had it was a public static context, which does new find_man context options. And that way I get the real DB context, but I would need some way to interrupt the dispose of that real DB context. Is there a way for me to set the actual object of my DB context mock? Yeah, because otherwise I don't know how to do this. Okay, so just a proof real quick that this approach works. No real datas were harmed in the making of these tests. Okay, so here we can see that I actually do have a .database. I got it. Do I got it? I should got it. Okay, here's what my brain is trying to tell me, I think. I can't really understand it. It talks weirdly. But in order to mock this correctly, I want two things. I want one of them that is going to be my DB context mock. So first thing is first. Var context options is this, and the other one is a new finan man context using this. That way I have two individual DB contexts, one that the test itself is going to use, and the other. Oh, but I'm still missing my database in the mock. Oh wait, that was the whole point. That was the whole point. We have two DB contexts. We get why does it say mock the fluent validator for the deposit entry view model? No, wait, you need to be up here. Okay, so we get one DB context that is going to be provided to the system under test. And then we get another DB context that is going to be provided to the test itself. Set up the DB context for the soot. Set up the DB context for the test itself. Okay, so with that said, this DB context here is not going to be the same DB context that is used in the add transaction method. So he says. And so it is completely all right if this DB context here gets disposed at the end of this operation, which it just now did, because this DB context still persisted. Haha. I get it. I get it. And that test passed. So now let's run all tests. So all of the tests should pass except for update deposit because that one has not been implemented. Screw you, delete. Nobody likes you anyway. Oh, this is a valid fail. I think I forgot to implement. Whoops. Oh, I got to get used to that keystroke. Control F12 will be the one that I use more often now to go to the implementation. I think I forgot to set purged. No, I didn't. So I set purge date to 15 days from the date of the soft delete. I save changes and then I await commit. Oh no, Tyron, we've already talked about this. Anything that I adopt is because it makes sense for me to use. And if I choose to put in the effort to learn it, it means that I want to use it. It makes sense if I want to go modify the interface to just use F12, and if I want to go to the implementation, then I use Control F12 instead of needing to go through the interface to get to the implementation. It just makes sense. Now say that again with the voice of Batman. I don't think I could do Batman's voice. My voice has a lot of high pass. It's not very deep. Alfred. I can't even say Alfred's name in Batman's voice. I'm Batman. And then when I try, it just comes out as a whisper. Just a whisper. So let's find out why purge date ended up being null, even though it should be getting set in the soft delete. Okay, so here says we got our DB context, which is going to be the DB context for the method. We are finding the record. The record was found. We're creating a new transaction so that if any portion of this fails, we can roll back. We're setting the purge date equal to datetime.now.utcnow plus 15 days. We're saving those changes. We are committing those changes. No exceptions happened, therefore no rollback happened. Since we're doing using, we have lost the DB context. It is disposed. Result was not null. Result was not error. We're finding the modified record that we were trying to delete, which is ID check, which is also result.record ID. Are we setting result record ID? I'm not setting the record ID. Oh yeah, I am, right here. Okay, just kidding. I'm setting record ID. So yeah, we are finding the record with that ID. That record is not null, but it has no purge date. I don't think tracking happened. And this could just be an artifact of... Is it an artifact of SQL Server, SQLite / in-memory database? Sorry, I meant only in-memory database. Is it an artifact of in-memory database, or is it because my transaction starts after I do the get? I want to test this one first to see if it was because my transaction started after the get. Otherwise, I may need to turn on something in the options for in-memory database. Yeah, purge data is null. I think you're right. Maybe my context, my test needs to get a new context. I have an idea for that then. Instead of passing back the DB context for the test, we'll just pass back the database context options. Yeah, so context A would not have that data if you created context A before B and then you update B. Gotcha. You're right. You're absolutely right. There's probably a way to force, but it's been cached. Yep. I believe you 100%. Okay, and the reason that I want to pass the DB context is because every time that I try to ask for a DB context or a new find_man context from the property, I will get a new GUID every time. And so I want to pass the DB context options that has the GUID that I used for the database name when setting up the mock for DB context factory. Okay, good idea. Thank you for pointing that out. Oot. Excuse me, why are you still telling me that it's oh, whoops. Because I put that in the wrong place. What am I missing then? DB context options. Cannot convert from. Oh, oh, what am I doing? What I am doing? You only need one of those. I do too. I think you're right, though. In fact, I know you're right. Cool. Var context equals new find man context. And then is there any way that I'm querying it again here? Yeah. Okay, so that get is good. Let's do this. Okay. Nowhere that I'm querying context again. Here is my add. This is the one that needs to be updated. Hello, Max. Yeah, and then in this case, I'm not exactly sure why it worked in this case. I know. I tried. Okay, so this is the one that we're going to need a new DB context down here as well before testing. So we may as well dispose the context here. Awesome. That's so cool. We were just recommending Ghost Ninja's assistance to someone else earlier. And he's already helping Fozzie. Oh my gosh. He's on top of it. Holy cow. Dude is so helpful. I hope, oh crap. I hope he doesn't get worn out from being used as a resource so much. Okay, so I'm just gonna run them all. Fingers are crossed. So are my eyes. And by the way, I am going to be having so much fun today. After this, I'm working on integrating. How can I explain this? How can I explain this? This 5 tests failed. The product that I'm working on it has a back end. So it's a desktop application. It has a back end. So all of the business logic and everything like that written in a completely separate repository, 3 or 4 different libraries. And so one of the things that one of the libraries has in it is the UI when I'm running that specific process. And so the way that they have it set up is the UI for the process is with the backend tools. I'm not 100% sure why, but it is. One of the main reasons is because if they have a tool that has a custom UI, they want to be able to just develop that separately from the main application itself. The main application will just read through all of the tools and say, hey, does this tool have a custom UI? If so, present that to the user. Otherwise, use the standard UI that it gets. And so on the client side, on the actual presentation side, I have 3 different skins now, or 3 different themes now. 2 skins and 2 themes between them, but it's still a total of 3 different themes. So that means that when you run this custom UI in the app, it still needs to look and feel like the rest of the app. But right now, since all of the UI exists in this separate library, then I can't really target it. Or not target it. It's difficult to make the changes in that library to get the 3 different themes. And so I found out that because all of this stuff is running through Blazor, and even the content from those UI are being rendered in the same Blazor application, the CSS that I write in the application will override the CSS that comes with those custom UI. And so I can do stuff like change the background color and set the font family, font size, even change the layout of them if I wanted to. So what I'm having them do is create a standard set of classes that they're using on the tool itself, so that we can just override those classes and style them using the regular app's classes and styles. Anyway, that's kind of vague, but fun. I am quitting soon for the day, but I just wanted to see what the error was. Interesting. So for add, we aren't getting the record back. All right, so Max was wondering if he can monetize his website. And prog testing was just saying, yeah. Because my parents say programmers in my age could already sell stuff, and if so, I could help my parents a bit. Yeah, true. Yeah, start freelancing on Upwork or Guru.com or other pages. Do some open source projects. This is all prog testing, giving these suggestions. But yeah, start networking, approach businesses. Yeah, so where do I sell websites? It's not necessarily that you're selling the website that you're creating, it's that you are accepting work from other people saying, I would like this website built. Yeah, and then what you're creating your own websites for is to showcase that you have the skills to develop websites. Yeah, so great advice, prog testing. DB context. Database. Oh, it's right here. Context ID. You guys will remember that number, right? No, it's not. Where's the actual database name? That's really confusing. In any case, we'll have to figure this out. I definitely am not understanding why it's not working. It should be the same in-memory database, but it's probably the dispose method that is clearing it out. Since there is no other DB context that's holding on to the database, it's probably actually getting disposed. Like the actual in-memory database itself. So let's see if we can keep it open, if we can persist it. So I would want to create it before doing the operations on it and then grab a new context for the updated values. Same thing there. And then here I'd want to create it before doing the operation on it. And then still grabbing a new DB context before doing the query on it. Okay, one last try, and then I gotta go back to work. Where's that? Still, same. So the new record is not being persisted somehow. It was an interesting thought. Yeah, maybe we'll look into modifying the DB context options and use our original approach, which was passing back the new DB context. And then seeing if there's a way to force refresh every time that it does a query. But we'll do that next time. So next time is actually going to be a community day stream because that'll be Friday, 2 days from now, and it'll start at 10:30 a.m., 2 hours ago, 2 days from now. Does that make sense? Yes, Max, ask your questions. I only stream every 2 days because I have a job that is more demanding than my previous job was. So I got a new job. And it is, I have meetings that are scheduled that are during the times that I would normally stream. And then if I tried to stream outside of those hours, it would be cutting into my personal time that I spend with my wife in the evenings or working on other work-related things. I also had really much meeting back then when I did my workshop. Yeah. So anyway, we will definitely figure this stuff out. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. So again, I post my videos on the YouTubes at least 24 hours or at yeah, at least 24 hours after the stream. It could be sometime after that, after the stream ends. So definitely check them out there if you feel like it. You definitely don't have to. They're also VODs. And on Friday, I will make sure to do sound checks and everything before the stream so that we don't lose any of the conversation content. That was really annoying for last week's stream. It was such good conversations too. Yeah. But anyway, I'll be around. I have meetings again today, which is why I have not been hanging out on Discord lately, because I have a ton of meetings. I have a lot of things that I've gotten involved with the job, which are fun and amazing and cool, but it's a lot of meetings. I don't understand the need for 20 meetings. I don't get it. But anyway, yeah. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm gonna go enjoy mine. Maybe grab a snack before my 1 o'clock, and then I have a 3 o'clock. Yes. Okay. But that's it for me. Hope to see you again in the future. Until next time. Ciao for now.